What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Hit the Books, Season 4, Episode 28. We got a lot going on in the sports world. Obviously, college basketball conference tournaments, NHL trade deadline, NFL free agency in the offseason. A lot of big moves going on in the NFL. And then, obviously, NBA and NHL getting towards the end of their regular season for their playoff race. MLB coming up in just a few weeks. Ace will be joining us in a little bit. For right now, just me and Mackie going to get into some college basketball. But Mackie, how we doing today? Obviously, had basketball all day the past 2 days. How are we starting off the college or conference tournaments? I should say.
Yeah, conference tournaments has been well so far. Obviously, it's the lower seeds in the first 2 days, so get to see the big dogs tomorrow and Friday. But not bad. I think we won a unit and a half yesterday. I think we're up a unit today, 2 unit push today. So pretty brutal push, but
That was a terrible fucking
yeah,
push. I lost there 4.5, but for the people that got the -4, that's a brutal push. I that's one of the pushes I count as a loss, but I mean, it's happy to get your money back if you did.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, still rolling. Obviously, a lot of news in the NFL free agency. A huge day yesterday and the day before, so we're gonna dive into that. And other than that, not much else.
Yeah, so we'll kind of work backwards. Some of the games we'll go through some of the games. Well, I guess we'll go through some of the ones we had so far today. Right now, I have Texas Vanderbilt on the first round of the SEC tournament. You were saying we have Butler against Providence in the first round there against the Big East or in the Big East tournament there against Providence. A few minutes left in the second half there. But we'll go through kind of the brackets that we posted on Instagram. I figured we'd start there with some of these conference tournaments and kind of see who we have in the final game on who you have cutting down the nets to be our conference champions. And just the end of this weekend. I guess they're all on Sunday, but we'll guess some of them are Saturday, right?
Yeah,
ACC
ACC
Saturday.
Saturday.
There's some of them that are Saturday. So
And
we'll start out with the ACC. I don't know if you want to pull up your bracket, how you want to do this.
yeah, I
If
got it
you
right
want to go
here.
through like the final four picks that we have in each bracket, and then who we have advancing from there.
Yeah, Final Four, I got 1 seed Duke versus 4 seed Wake Forest. Wake Forest plays North Carolina in that quarterfinal game. North Carolina looked incredible today. They looked like they're on a mission. They need to win next week or tomorrow against Wake Forest to have a chance at this bracket. But
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good game tomorrow for sure. I think the winner has to win. So or whoever wins will get in. And the loser will be out. So
yeah.
it's gonna be a big game. I have Duke versus Wake Forest. I have Duke winning that. And then the bottom half, I have number 2 seed Louisville versus number 6 seed SMU, who will definitely need to at least make a championship game to be thought about for that March Madness. But I have SMU winning that game actually, and then I have Duke SMU in the ACC championship, and I have Duke rolling because the ACC is very weak this year, and
Yeah.
Duke is Duke.
Yeah, we have similar. I mean, we have two of the same in the Final Four for the ACC at least. I have Duke, UNC. Like you said, UNC looked very good today. I was happy about that pick. I did have Pitt taking down Notre Dame. We ended up going with Notre Dame on the card there. Great plus 160 hit there yesterday. But North Carolina looking good, getting in a good matchup against Wake Forest. I'm excited for that one. What is that tomorrow?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's tomorrow,
Thursday.
2:30.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one there. And then the other side of the bracket, I have Louisville versus Clemson, Duke versus Clemson in the final. I also have Duke being the ACC champions. I just think they're too deep. I wouldn't be surprised to see Clemson hang around in that final game. We've seen Clemson
Clemson beat
beat
them
them.
already
If I'm
this
not,
year.
yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna say they beat them earlier this year, right?
yeah. I don't think it could happen twice. So
Yeah,
that's
I don't. That's what made me once I saw the matchup. I immediately went with Duke there to win the ACC. I think it's a safe play. I think they were the only one that were minus odds to win their bracket, but
minus 310 too. It wasn't even like
yeah,
minus 120. Minus
yeah.
310.
Yeah, not much value there. I think they will get it done though. They're obviously the best team, and then like you said, a weak ACC. But we'll move over. We'll go to the Big East next. I think I posted all of ours in the same order. If you're swiping through yours,
Yep, got it.
um, so Big East. I'll start my Final Four, and then we'll go to you next on this one. I have St. John's versus Marquette, and Creighton against UConn with St. John's UConn in the final. I'm not very confident in this UConn team. I think that'd be a big win over Creighton. I think Creighton's very good. I've taken them several times this year. Wouldn't be surprised to see Creighton get there. I'd love to see St. John's Creighton in a final for the Big East, but I think UConn will kind of work up some magic, get a couple wins. They could find themselves in that game against Creighton. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win, but I have St. John's as the Big East tournament champions.
Yeah, I have St. John's incredible all season, number 6 seed in the AP poll. They haven't lost in a while, and they're 26 and 4, I think. if they wanna make a run in March Madness, I think they have to drop one here if because, when teams go on that fat run, they're
Yeah,
due for a
yeah,
loss. Team like this, you have to drop one in the Big East tournament because I could see an upset in the first 2 rounds with this team if they don't. But I have St. John's Xavier in that first semifinal matchup. I have Xavier beating Marquette in a really good game. And then I have Creighton Villanova. I have Villanova beating UConn. We saw earlier in the season, UConn played 3 neutral site games, lost all 3. Darren Hurley had a lot to say about that. I think they're going to struggle again here against a pesky, pretty pesky Villanova team. Eric Dixon is really good, so maybe he could do enough to beat this UConn team. I think they're a little weak this year anyway. But I have Creighton beating Villanova, St. John's beating Xavier, and then I have Creighton beating St. John's in the Big East championship, which is going to be tough because it's at Madison Square Garden, basically a home game for St. John's. But
yeah.
Creighton plays them really well. They've already lost. They beat them by 1 earlier in the season, and then St. John's handled them
The
later in
second
the
time.
season. So
Yeah,
Creighton knows how to beat this team. I think it's going to be a really good game, and they might just get a bounce or two, and it goes their way.
yeah. We'll move over to the Big Ten. You want to start out here with your Final Four semifinal matchups?
Yeah, Big Ten. Michigan State, obviously, they only have to win 1 game to get there. So Michigan State, UCLA. I have UCLA getting there as a 4 seed, beating Wisconsin in that quarterfinal game. Then I have Maryland, Rutgers on the other side. And I made this earlier, and I think that Rutgers probably won't get there, but they have those 2 dogs in their team, in Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. So if anyone can get there, it could be them as a lower seed. I have Maryland beating Rutgers. I have Michigan State beating UCLA, and then I have Maryland upsetting Michigan State in the Big Ten championship game. Maryland winning the Big Ten.
I have Michigan State versus Wisconsin. Michigan State taking down Wisconsin in that semifinal to move to the Big Ten final, and Maryland taking down Purdue. Michigan State beating Maryland. I do love this Maryland team. I've taken them a lot this year. Derek Queen is very
Eric
fun to
Queen's the
watch for
dog.
them.
Yeah,
They have a very good team over there in Maryland. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win this game against Michigan State. I just think Michigan State's too hot right now. They have too many guys. They're starting to hit the 3 ball. I was listening to an interview of Tom Izzo the other day. He was saying once they started hitting the 3 earlier on, even just a few weeks ago, it kind of started falling for him. He said he knows this team's special and they're going to be doing special things this offseason, or this postseason, I should say. But I'm going to go with Michigan State in the Big Ten. Wouldn't be surprised to see Maryland there. But probably the 2 main ones that most people are wondering about, with a lot of, I could see a couple schools win in the Big 12 or SEC. Not as much in the SEC, but we'll move to the Big 12. My semifinalists in the Big 12 are Iowa State going up against Houston. I have Houston knocking out Iowa State. Iowa State looked great today. They covered again. They're like 23-2 in the Big 12 tournament against the spread.
21,
Just a
3-1.
Yeah, it's just a crazy number there. But Texas Tech against Kansas. I have Texas Tech taking down Kansas, and Texas Tech defeating Houston in the Big 12 championship and being your Big 12 champions.
Yeah, I have Iowa State, Houston as well. Iowa State, very, very tough game against BYU tomorrow. BYU can shoot the lights out of the ball, and they can play really good defense as well. So you got to be careful in that one. I do have Iowa State prevailing. Iowa State, Houston. I have Iowa beating Houston with the upset there, trying to defend their title from last year. I have Texas Tech versus Arizona on the other side. I have Texas Tech winning that one. JT Toppins is too much, and I do have Texas Tech winning the Big 12 as well. Going to be a really good game between Texas Tech and Iowa State. But this Texas Tech team, a little underrated. They have the names. They have McCullers. Obviously, I said JT Toppin.
Yeah.
They can shoot the
They
lights
could go
out
on
of
a
the
run
ball.
in March. They're one of my teams that's not many people are. I
Plus
mean, they're not going to be a 1
3,000.
seed. They're probably going to be what, a 2 seed?
Probably like a 3 or
They could,
4.
yeah.
They're
They could
plus 3,000 to win it all. I mean, that's crazy value on a team that's been there
is
before too. I
and is
mean,
very good.
yeah, yeah, wouldn't count them out for sure.
Yeah, and then SEC, I have Auburn versus Tennessee, Florida versus Bama, and then we get the Auburn Florida final in the SEC. I have Florida upsetting Auburn. Not much real. Obviously, once we get to that game, I'm interested to see what the spread would be. But I have Florida upsetting Auburn on my bracket. Wouldn't obviously Auburn's the best team in the country. That's more of just a off the whim pick.
Yeah, I have.
I think that's kind of back to your point with St. John's. I think Auburn, it helps them to drop one here.
The only thing is Auburn's lost 2 in the last week. So
Yeah.
so
They
here's
don't
the
need
thing.
like they're not due for a loss like St. John's is.
Here's my logic with Auburn here. I think Auburn wins the SEC championship. I have them beating Texas A&M, who also beat them in the last 2 weeks. And then I have Florida versus Kentucky on the other side. Kentucky beating Alabama in that quarterfinal game. That can go either way. I really think I just kind of took a bold pick there.
Yeah.
I also have Kentucky beating Florida. You know how I feel about Florida. I'm not sold on them until they'll be in the Final Four, and I still won't be sold on them.
Yeah.
Then I have Auburn beating Kentucky in the finals and winning the SEC.
Yeah. I think it's a safe pick there. So my 5, we'll rip through them. I had Duke, St. John's, Michigan State, Texas Tech, and Florida. Mackey with Duke, Creighton, Maryland, Texas Tech, and Auburn. So like we said, conference tournaments underway. We had most of the first round games today. A lot of these games underway going through the rest of the night. We've been getting some plays out there. I don't know our exact record right now, but plays coming out tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all through the end of these tournaments. And as we move into March Madness next week with Selection Sunday. So make sure you're staying tuned for that and our college basketball card. I think we're sitting around 9 units right now. I don't want to quote myself on that because we hit Iowa State today and then had a push. So that's not including today's results. But
Were
yeah,
you, were you,
anything else you want to touch on with college basketball? I think we'll go through obviously like our national championship picks and everything next week before March Madness. But anything else you want to touch on?
no, yeah, just that bracket challenge. We have a bracket challenge going out, right?
Oh yeah. Good call. We're gonna be posting that on Sunday. But whenever you're listening to this, stay tuned for that on our Instagram and social media. We're gonna be doing a giveaway for our ESPN Tournament Challenge group. Join the group. We'll post all the information. It'll be subscribe on our YouTube, tag a friend, like the post, and submit your bracket. And then the winning bracket that completes all 4 steps will win the prize. I believe the prize right now is going to be a Fanatics gift card. I could be wrong on that. It'll all be on the post whenever it's all official out there. But yeah, good call mentioning that while we were talking college basketball. But yeah, we'll wait for Ace to get in here, and then we'll touch on some of these NHL and or NHL trade deadline moves and NFL offseason moves. All right, we are back for the NHL trade deadline recap. Ace has officially joined us. We're going to get right into it with the NHL. I'll go through some of these big trades or moves that we had at the deadline. So the 2025 trade deadline came and went this past week. Since we last spoke, a few of the big trades that had happened are Brad Marchand to Florida, Mikko Rantanen to Dallas, Michael Bunting to Nashville, Luke Schenn and Tommy Novak to Pittsburgh. Luke Schenn then flipped to Winnipeg. Brian Dumoulin to New Jersey. Nico Sturm to Florida. Riley Smith back to the Vegas Golden Knights. Brendan Brisson in a 3rd rounder back to the Rangers in that deal. Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle to Colorado. Dylan Cousins to Ottawa. Josh Norris to Buffalo. Is there any I missed? What's your guys' takeaway from the deadline? Obviously, Ace, you lost your captain in this deadline. That couldn't have been fun there. Where do we want to start with some of these big moves?
Ace, let's give you a minute to break down that Brad Marchand to Florida
Hey,
trade.
it's been fun so far because we're undefeated since then. But yeah, definitely expected to be sellers here for the first time in a while. It seems like Brad Marchand was out the door. That was the big talk of the town. That was our big trade chip, and he didn't even give us that big of a haul there. Surprisingly, we actually got a lot more for Charlie Coyle. Ended up getting back Middlestat, our new top prospect from Will Zellers, and a 2nd-round pick. We fetched a 1st-round pick, another top prospect for Carlo. Frederick got us a nice little haul, too, with Kuznetsov, Lauko, and another top pick. But it was Brad Marchand only getting a 2nd. It's conditional, though. Could be a 1st if the Panthers go a little bit further this year. But the thing is, you got to think about it. He's above 35 years old, right? He's injured. He's only under contract the rest of the season. So the Panthers,
I didn't know that until after the trade either. I didn't know he was a free agent.
yeah, he's only going to be with the Panthers so much, so you couldn't expect him getting too much value out of him. And the Bruins, at least they respected him, and they sent him somewhere he wanted to go. He played with Bennett in the Four Nations tournament. A lot of people think they have bad blood from the hit. Yeah, they do, but they play a similar style of hockey. He stays on the East Coast with his family. He has that no trade clause, so he waived it to go there. And who knows, maybe he could be in the mix down the line. But the thing is, he wanted around $7 million in his next contract, and the Bruins are smart for moving on from that. Obviously, it hurts a lot to get rid of Brad Marchand, the heart and soul of these Bruins, but we're really turning the page on this former 2011 team there, last guy out the door. This is really turning into the Pasta show. And we've seen it really step up with Pasternak and Swayman guiding us to 2 wins right off the bat, a shutout from Sway, or a near shutout that was, and then a nice win last night come from behind over the Florida Panthers. So this team's playing with a lot more energy. They turned from one of the oldest teams in the league to the 2nd youngest team in the league. So they're right there in the mix now for years to come. I think they're going to rebuild well. A lot of cap space and assets. Sorry, the cat's going nuts. You're pissed about the bad Marshawn trade. A lot of assets
I
and
thought you
money.
said cat space. Because there's a fucking cat crawling on you.
Yeah. No, a lot of assets and money heading into the next year. And they did the hard thing. I know a lot of fans are pissed. I am too, but they did the right thing from a GM perspective, and they're set up for future down the line. And we're not out of the playoff race just yet. Sitting right there, one game out of the playoffs, with still about double-digit games to go. So it was interesting to see the turning of the page, but we're gonna get a new look Bruins, and now this is David Pasternak's team for years to come.
Mackie, and your Rangers, obviously, you guys got rid of, what was it, Riley Smith?
Riley
There wasn't
Smith.
many too big offloads for you guys.
They already
either.
did
No, we
their
made
big
all of
move.
our moves earlier in the season. Obviously getting rid of Kako, Hedel, getting JT Miller,
You added Carson Soucy too, right?
Carson Soucy. Yeah, that wasn't. I mean, it's not that big. We got like,
Also,
yeah,
you
I
guys are
mean-
right there in the mix, Mackie. We're not looking great.
I
but
mean,
we're
I don't
alive.
understand. Like, we're sitting here as buyers, you guys are sitting there as sellers, and we're sitting there with the same amount of points. So I don't really understand what's going on there. Rangers on a 4-game losing streak, though. They're really playing like shit. Just lost to Columbus and Ottawa back to back. Two
Yeah,
teams ahead of us.
tough sale
Pretty-
game with that Ottawa
pretty
one.
brutal. Yeah,
And Ottawa.
yeah, that's what I said. Ottawa and Columbus. That was brutal. I think their season's kind of caked at this point, but I guess we're still sitting there. And all this team needs to do is get hot, sneak into the playoffs, and there's still something to worry about.
Those
so.
are our teams, and Huff, your team made some good moves too, picking up assets, picking up youth, offloading some contracts. Would have liked them to have offloaded a little bit more, but I think they were winners at this trade deadline. But let's talk about some of those teams that really mattered and won the deadline. The Dallas Stars, the Colorado Avalanche. They got the star-studded pieces, Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle. They brought in Natchez earlier in the year. A couple other pieces there. The Stars, meanwhile, they brought in Granlund and CC earlier. Then they get the big piece in Mikko Rantanen. I know they had to give up a couple firsts in Logan Stankoven, who's a great player, and he's playing on that first line for Carolina, already an impact player, scored in his first or second game there.
I personally, I don't want to cut you off there, but while you're on Colorado, I personally think behind Dallas, they're the biggest threat in the West.
Yeah, I think
They're
so
bigger
too.
than Dallas. Dallas never gets the job done.
Just because of like past history, yeah. But
Dallas
that
also
roster,
added too, so you got to give them their
But
credit.
they had Rannon, who put up 4 points in 13
all right,
games.
you're overlooking Mikko Rantanen big
Not
time.
really,
That
not
state
He had
really.
a sick goal in that first
I
game
don't
against
know,
Edmonton.
man. I don't know.
And also Mikhail Granlund to that. They're playing the LTIR game like teams before them have, and then Cody Ceci on the back end. Wyatt Johnston, that guy, they actually inked him to an extension too, which was nice to see because they turned him down. And he's only like 23 years old. He's on a career
What did
E
year
he get?
right
Like
now.
8 years, 50-some million.
I think he's on a 5-year
yeah, it was like $7
deal.
million a year, something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was 5, but whatever it is, he should have been paid more because that guy's great. He hasn't even his max potential yet. They have so many pieces there, though. I mean, Hintz, Robertson, Rotten, and Miro Heiskin's on the shelf on the LTIR, but they have Thomas Harley, who we saw. A lot of people were unfamiliar with his game, but he's a great defenseman. He showed up in the Four Nations tournament when Makar was out. They have Granlund, Ben, Sagan's hurt right now. They still have a bunch of other guys throughout that lineup. That team's just loaded top to bottom. I think they're going to make a serious run, and they have the goaltender in the net to do it. Shout out to the American there. Love to see that. And then Colorado, Huff, like you said, one of the most dangerous teams. Mackie thinks they're the most dangerous. Rightfully so when you have the Nate Dogg and Cale Makar. But they brought in Brock Nelson. I thought that was a great ad. Charlie Coyle is a good depth piece. But still, I'm not sold on their goaltending. I know they added
I
Wedgwood.
like Blackwood. I knew you were going to give
Wedgwood
him
and
with a butt.
Blackwood.
You're not sold on something with there, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I think that team's good enough that, I mean, they won.
He
with
is a
who?
good goalie. He's
Kemper?
Gorgiev. No, they won with Kemper.
Oh, Kemper. Yeah, Kemper. Yeah, and then
Kemper's
Kemper
a-
got shipped off to
That's what I mean. Like
Washington
this,
and now
Washington,
LA.
this
And
team's
shit
at their
the bed,
best. Like
yeah.
they've shown
But
they
now
don't need
Kemper's
that.
right back in the playoff race, though, Mackie. So you can't be putting him to bed yet. With a weak team up over in LA. I thought another team that made some good moves, the Oilers, they added some depth pieces. They added throughout the lineup. They added Frederick, a couple other depth guys. They didn't need too much. They weren't that far away. A lot of people still worry about their goaltending, too. That's another question. Winnipeg added a couple of depth pieces on the back end. They got stronger. I think they brought in Shen, and they brought in someone else on the back end, too, to solidify things. So that team's going to be a tough out. But like Mackie said before, a team that likes to crumble when it matters. I think it's because they overplay Hellebuck in the regular season. Never really gave him a true backup. But one more winner out east. What do you guys think about the Lightning? That was my pick to come out of the East and lose to the Stars in the finals. They added Bjorkstrand. They added Yanni Gourde, who had been there previously. That team just keeps adding, and Bazzi's playing great hockey. So with
I really hope we get a Florida versus Tampa Bay series in these playoffs.
It's going to be round 1, which is crazy because one of those teams is going to have to go home.
I'm really hoping. How's the Atlantic sit right now?
Toronto,
Florida,
and
Toronto,
then Florida,
Tampa.
and then Tampa. Yeah. So you're going to lose
right
one
now,
of those.
Florida would get a wild card team.
No, Florida gets Tampa. I thought
Toronto
was in
gets the
first.
wild card team.
No,
Yeah.
Florida's in first. Florida's ahead by 2 points right now.
All right. They must have just jumped them.
Yeah, 2
recently
points.
They have a
That's
game
big.
played on them.
Yeah,
though, so
game played
basically,
over 'em.
It's even.
tied.
And that, you know how those regular season hero Leafs are. They're going to keep snapping throughout. They didn't do too much at the deadline. They brought in Carlo, yeah. But I don't think that shored up enough on the back end for them. And their goaltending is just atrocious, as evident by they ended up winning for us in the Card the other night, but they blew that 3-0 lead and had to end up winning in a shootout. But they just got to be pissing their pants seeing Brad Marchand going to play with the Panthers now. Because if they somehow have to meet up with Florida, you know they're in for one. Florida won't be able to hang with Brad Marchand, Makachuk, and Sam Bennett when they're healthy. Ekblad hit with that 20-game Celsius, though. That's going to be tough. That leads into the playoffs a little bit, too.
Huge.
But they added Seth Jones for that reason. Maybe they knew that was coming down the pipeline. But that was a good trade. Look at Spencer Knight. Mackie and I have been high on him. I've liked him his whole career. I know you have too, but we've been high on him, even on the betting odds, taking the Blackhawks a couple times with that value. And he's been showing out. He had that stellar first game. He's looked good so far. I know it's a tough team, but that's good for Bedard's future out there in Chicago. But some great moves in the NHL. Anything else you guys think that was pretty eyebrow raising throughout this? Scotty Walton going to the Leafs too.
I was going to say there's not too many trades that I missed here, but I was going to say if there's any that I missed that you guys are waiting to talk about, let me know.
We thought Vegas was going to drop a bomb for us. Everybody thought that Brad Marchand was becoming a Vegas Golden Knight, and there was the stunner at 3:01 after the deadline closed. Was Marchand going to Florida, which nobody saw coming, but we're so used to Vegas just stepping up at the last minute and making a fire move, and we just didn't see it happen this year.
Were they one of the teams that Rantanen was willing to go to?
I'm not too sure. I know I'm only going to play for 4 hockey teams.
He's such a little bitch, man.
That's why Mackie doesn't like him. That's why Mackie doesn't.
He's such a little bitch.
Yeah, he is. I agree with you.
You're getting paid millions to play a damn sport. Go wherever the fuck they tell you to go.
Yeah.
When you're an upcoming free agent, though, you have a lot of leverage.
Like, don't you guys want to play hockey? I don't know.
He's taking the basketball mantra into the NHL.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's probably just salty that he's not playing with the Nate Dogg anymore. What do you think, though? Essentially, Carolina for Martin Necas. I don't know what else they gave up exactly in that trade. I think it was Drury for Rantanen. I think they gave up Necas and Drury to Colorado for Rantanen. They essentially got back 2 firsts in Stankoven. Everybody's like, oh, they gave up Rantanen for that. But in reality, they gave up Necas and Drury for Stankoven 2 firsts. I know they're going to be late firsts because they're Dallas's first, but I think that's a pretty good haul.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Colorado made out too with Necas and Drury.
I don't know why you ship off Necas, but superstars don't want to play in Carolina. That's what it is.
Why? I don't get it.
It's not a good market.
I don't get why either.
It's not a good market.
Gensel too got out of there. I mean, dude, they get like it's not like they don't pack house. Like Carolina's huge.
No, I know, but they don't want to live there.
Nobody wants in the playoffs. That place is always rocking.
I don't know,
Yeah,
dude.
but-
I wouldn't mind living in North Carolina.
but that's-
like Charlotte.
No, I wouldn't either, but that's what these NHL players do. They want to play in a big city with a historic franchise or a big media market. And they also want to play in a spot that's not playing Rob Brendamore grinded out hockey, you know? We've seen it time and time again. Gensel, Necas, Rantanen, and all these guys just leaving that team. And look at they're not able to retain people. Wouldn't be surprised if Svetch or Aho end up out the door soon enough. They can only bring in those gritty old guys like Brent Burns, stuff like that.
Yeah. Justin Falk made it that one.
Maybe that's why they can't get over that hump.
I think those are all the big moves that I thought I saw go around. John Gibson stayed put in Anaheim. I thought he was out the door. Huff, I wouldn't have been surprised if you guys went and got him, but I guess
I was telling Mackie that last week. I would have loved us to get him.
I guess you're not trying to get older, though, at the same time. But they were saying that the market wasn't good and they didn't get the right price for him. Spencer Knight, though, Huff, do you think you guys kicking yourself a little bit knowing that he was on the market?
I don't even know what we would have given up in that trade, though. Like for Seth Jones.
You wouldn't. Well, the fact that they got They got a first with
Yeah,
Spencer Knight.
getting back a first is crazy. We could have worked something out, just a player or a pick for Knight.
Would you have given a first with Carlson to bring in Spencer Knight? Probably.
And you unload a contract. You basically give him a first to pay that bad contract,
That's
and you
why
get a young
Carlson
prospect.
wasn't out the doors. They just couldn't pay him. What's his name ended up getting moved too? I think he went to Toronto from San Jose. That winger, it's not Eklund, it's the other guy out there. Zetterlund. Fabian Zetterlund. Yeah, Fabian Zetterlund. Yeah, he's having a good season too. They picked up him and Scotty Lawton, some good depth pieces, but still, I'm just not sold on the Toronto goaltending. Is it Wall? Is it still Lars? Is it somebody else? Like, who's their guy that's going to win them a playoff series? I don't know if they have one.
Yeah, I don't know. And if things stay the way they're put, if they get Tampa in the first round, I'd love Tampa to beat them in that series.
And then go see Florida in the next round?
Yeah.
Nothing else from the contenders, really, though. No big moves there. I know Mrazek went to Detroit. He's starting tonight. I don't even know if that's that great of a move, but their other guys were pretty weak. The Wild didn't do too much. A lot of these bubble teams kind of stayed put.
Absolutely, yeah. So lots of moves on the deadline, a good deadline recap. We'll move forward and see how some of these teams do with their new additions. Some of these guys, that's what I wanted to say about the NHL trade deadline. What I love about the NHL trade deadline is these guys get traded and they play almost instantly.
Immediately,
NBA,
right away.
they need like 3 weeks before they can suit up for an NBA game.
Who was that got traded like 4 hours before and he was playing
He
that
played
night?
that night.
Who was it?
I don't know, but I saw the same thing. They got traded at like 3 p.m. and they were in town
He was warming
for
up
7
at
p.m.
6:30, yeah.
Yes.
That's sick. That's Steez. I'd see them holding people out because I think they're going to be traded. But no, like you said, Huff, that's been nice to watch from my Bruins. Not to harp on them again too much, but we got to see Middlestat in a very underrated signing. I don't know if you guys noticed this one. He played in the Four Nations tournament for Finland. Henry Jokiharju we got for a very cheap price. He's only 25 years old. And looking forward, he's already looked good. But with Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy back healthy next year, you have Zadorov already under contract. You bring back Mason Lohrei again and Jokiharju with Andrew Peeke. That's a great defensive core. That was an under-the-radar signing, and he's already made an impact on our team. Middlestat, I think, too.
Middlestat was what? Buffalo, then Colorado, now you guys.
Yeah, he was a number 7 overall pick.
Yeah. I always forget
he was a first-round pick. Jokiharju had the great quote, too. I don't know if you guys saw it. He's like, I was just waiting to get out of Buffalo. Like, it couldn't have come soon enough. That's just like the story of the NHL.
I was going to say, that's another team no one wants to play for, but at least Carolina's good.
That trade, what about Dylan Cousins, though? I mean, going from, he was a big asset, too. Everybody wanted Cousins. Right away, he went to the Ottawa Senators. That Senators team, Mackey's been high on them for a few years now. They're finally hitting their potential. Brady Tkachuk, I mean, that guy's just breathed life into him. But adding Dylan Cousins, too, was a great piece. And Josh Norris was a good price to pay for him, too. He's helping out those Sabres already, too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Cousins has been great for Ottawa as well since he's gotten there. But getting rid of Josh Norris, I mean, you're not getting rid of nothing there. He's a great asset as well.
Yeah, there's not too much defensive moving, though. A lot of goal scoring we saw there. I know the defensive depth usually flies under the radar, but usually you see a lot more of that movement around the league. I saw some rumblings of Stammer going back to Tampa Bay, but I was like, no shot. They can't absorb that contract.
How is he even doing this year?
He's like the rest of the National Predators.
Doing good,
they fell asleep for the whole first half of the season. Now they're starting to play better hockey, but it's so late that the numbers are so deflated.
Yeah. We'll get into our power rankings real quick with number 5, Colorado, number 4, Carolina, number 3, Winnipeg, number 2, Washington, and number 1, the Dallas Stars. How are we feeling about this list as we head towards maybe the end of the regular season? Where we have 2-3 weeks left?
A little bit more than that. I think
a little more than that, yeah.
About a month, maybe?
There's like 18, 17 games left. So
yeah.
About a month left. It's going to be a good month, too. I'm looking forward to
just outside of those rankings, we got Florida, Edmonton, Tampa Bay, Vegas. Some good teams right in that mix. So the Cup's really wide open this year.
Yeah.
A lot of different predictions.
I'd say both conferences. I mean, we just talked about Colorado and Dallas in the West, but I mean the East, I guess you'd say, I mean, Florida. I don't think any of us are that sold on Washington, maybe Tampa, like
I'm sold on Washington.
I'm not saying.
I'll tell you what. You want to know something?
You're going to have a bracket that has Washington winning the Cup?
Having a bracket that has Washington getting out of the second round? I don't have them getting out of the first round, depending on who they play.
You don't think they could beat Carolina in the second round? Carolina always chokes.
In the third round.
The Rangers beat them in the second round like three times in a row.
All I know is they get to the Eastern Conference Finals and they don't know how to win hockey games.
Now when they play the Rangers in the second round.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Shesterkin's a little bit better. I mean, maybe not Logan Thompson, though. He's on fire this year.
He's got like 5 losses in
No,
the
but
entire
I'll tell you
season.
what,
It's
I've been having
crazy.
this debate with one of our listeners. He jumped on the podcast a while ago, my buddy Kevin McDonald. He's a big hockey guy. And we've been having this debate all season long. And then after the trade deadline, it balanced out in my favor a little bit with the East getting a little bit stronger. But he's like, the West is so much better than the East. It's not even close. It's not even close. I'm like, yeah, the West is better than it has been, but they're still pretty balanced when you look at it. You have teams like Colorado. I'm going to put them up there with Florida. They've done it and they're stacked, right? You have Dallas and Carolina, 2 teams who are very, very good, but like to choke in the playoffs. Then you have Tampa Bay and Vegas. I think they're pretty comparable too. Both Stanley Cup winning teams with veterans throughout the roster that could go on a nice run and win it all. You have teams that are pretty similar in the Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets that are really good in the regular season and choke when it matters. But a team like the Oilers is going to overshadow the Caps, in my opinion. The Caps have got it done, and they're playing great in the regular season, but I still think we can all agree the Oilers are a stronger favorite to go on a deeper run in this playoff tournament, especially led by 97 and getting there last year. Then you look at the wild cards, depending on who gets in for the East. Mackie, I know a lot of people are down on your Rangers, but I'm still high on them. If they can somehow backdoor it, or the Bruins, I think they have a better fighting chance than the Wild or the Canucks or the Kings. Even the Blue Jackets or the Senators. I think that the East has better depth there, but I think the only unbalanced part is that Caps Oilers spot. But you could even say the Caps are there. I think it's a very even playing field on both sides.
Yeah, I'd say if anything, I'd just say the West is a little more top heavy.
Yeah, I think
just with the
East,
Oilers and the Caps, like we overlook the Caps, Huff. I think you and I both do.
Yeah.
I would give the edge to the
Me
East,
more
honestly.
just as a Penguin fan, but they are fucking really good.
Yeah, and it's just like a team out of nowhere.
Washington.
Yeah, I agree. They're really good.
The young guys step it up. It's what it is.
No, they had a great rebuild. Like they actually did very well. They brought in the right
Mackie?
pieces.
The young guys are just.
What do you like? Protuses, the McMichaels.
Protus is sick. McMichael, dude, these guys are playing great. And I mean,
what about the career year from Tom Wilson?
That too, and then I mean the goaltending stepping up as well. Back end's not bad. I mean, you have.
I like Logan Thompson. I will say that.
Who expected Logan Thompson to be this good?
I liked him on Vegas when he went there. I was like, "Fuck!" But then now he's been good.
They kicked him out the door just because the coaches don't like him. That's why I didn't make the Four Nations tournament. That's another. Speaking of the Four Nations,
Canadian.
Yeah, speaking of the Four Nations tournament, yeah, Cassidy and DeBoer, coaches on that Canada staff, they didn't like him when they coached him in Vegas. They both had him under his reign. Speaking of that Four Nations team, though, I'm surprised Benner didn't get sent out of St. Louis, but I mean, they're still in the hunt too, technically. But.
Yeah, that's a team I don't know if I've watched once this season.
Yeah,
St. Louis.
I hate that team. Oh, fucking scum.
But we'll jump into the NBA real quick before we get into some of these NFL offseason moves. Mackie, your New York Knicks leading guard Jalen Brunson suffered an ankle/foot injury on Thursday against the Lakers. It appears that Brunson could miss some time with the injury. I believe I saw March 28th he's expected back, so just a few. I think that's 2 weeks. But do you like your Knicks to carry the weight while your star is off the floor?
Yeah, they'll do all right. They don't really have to do much. They're kind of locked into that 3 seed right now. They have about 4 games each way. I don't see them catching the Celtics, and I really don't think the Bucks will keep up either. I think the Bucks are on a 4-game losing streak right now too. So, they'll get the job done. They have the supporting cast. Knicks have a pretty good. I'd say they have pretty good depth. Josh Hart, Anunoby, Cat, they can all put up points as well. So, just wait for him to get back though. In case we get this healthy Knicks team in the playoffs.
Yeah, as long as you don't see the Pacers, maybe we'll see you guys later in the playoffs.
No Hart.
Spicy P, Tyrese Halliburton, that dog, the owner of the Madison Square Garden, Andrew Nembhard
ripped up the TD Garden in the regular season about a month ago.
Buddy, don't talk to us until you get a ring. When's the last time you saw a ring in your life in any sport?
We're going to keep talking about this?
Great defending champions looking to go back-to-back. The Boston Celtics. You know who led the way for them the other night? Sam Hauser tying a league record of 8 threes in the third quarter. That's just a blessing how good that Celtics team is. I mean, there's so many guys that can pop off. Pritchard, Hauser, Derek White, and those guys are all off the bench. You still got Holiday and Porzingis and Brown and Tatum and Horford locking up Doncic and LeBron James. I mean,
how did you bring this to the Celtics? We're talking about Jalen Brunson getting injured.
Because you were talking about the series that you want so badly.
No, I didn't. You're the one who brought it up.
All I know is I gotta bask in this greatness while I can because this is one of the best teams I've ever seen assembled, and I think they have a chance
Boston
going back
sports
to back.
has nothing else going for them, so I guess you gotta eat it all in right now.
Hey, I mean, we're getting to the NFL free agency here soon. You guys haven't spent on a big contract in over
yeah,
a
you guys-
decade, and
You
we're
guys can go
handing
from
out
4 wins to 5 wins
bags.
this year.
Hey, all I know is you got Dak Prescott on a fat deal. We got a nice young stud quarterback. I don't even know who your head coach is. We got Mike Vrabel in the mix. And you could be finishing the bottom of that division. You better hope those Giants don't draft a generational QB, or you're coming in fourth, buddy.
Yeah, we could, but like you guys are definitely finishing in the bottom of the division. You have nothing
What? You like the Justin Fields New York Jets?
better than the Patriots. What do you guys? You
Wow,
guys
you're
have 3
tripping.
players, and you're just
You're tripping. Second easiest schedule coming into the season too. Second
All right,
easiest
before
schedule.
let's save the NFL stuff. Let's rip through these power rankings. The
Steelers
NBA.
fans I don't want to talk about the NFL.
No, that's where we're starting with the NFL. But number 5, Golden State Warriors. Number 4, the Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3, OKC Thunder. Number 2, the Boston Celtics. And number 1, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who Mackie pointed out are on a 15-game winning streak. Yeah, they're on fire.
But they erased an 18-point second half deficit yesterday.
they're playing Nets.
But still, that's pretty good.
I mean, yeah, still.
So they do every game, though.
The NBA regular season, when you're down 18 in the second half, they quit.
Dude, they're like every single game is close, but they just win every single close game. It's kind of cool. Like,
You know what their money line was at the half when they were down 18?
I know. I was looking at it. It was like -115. I almost ripped
minus
it.
105.
Yeah, I
I was
almost
like,
ripped
what
it.
the hell? Down 18. Jeez, they have big expectations. What about, we were talking about the Warriors. Some people might be mad that we left the Nuggets out. We left the other teams out. But the Jimmy Butler effect. I mean, it's true.
They're winning
9-1 their last 10. Are they a force to be reckoned with? Can they upset someone in the first round? I think so if they get the Ja Morants.
I mean, I don't think there's a team in the West that they couldn't beat. I'm not gonna say that they will beat every team in the West, but I
they
don't
have
think
the
there's a
chance
team in
to.
the West that you're just like no chance they beat them.
Especially the way Steph Curry's playing and the help around them.
Yeah,
you know what would be
the
a
help
great
is
series in
there.
the first round would be the Warriors and the Lakers. I mean,
That's
that'd
what we're
be
looking at right now. It's 3 versus 6 right now.
that'd be some great TV.
I don't want to see that. I'd rather see it later in the playoffs.
Yeah, because you want to see both of them move on. Me too. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I wouldn't be mad too, as long as we get the matchup at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. NBA playoffs, few weeks away, same time as the NHL, just about a month away. We'll kind of dive into who we like to make some of these playoff spots next week in both leagues, as well as our MLB preview. I know we said we're going to be doing that this week. Lots going on in the NFL and NHL, so we're going to save that for next week, week out before opening day. But we'll slide over to the NFL, where lots of big moves have happened. First one we'll start with is my Pittsburgh Steelers have officially got their new wide receiver. They've been seeking for, feels like, the past year and a half. I've heard a million different names over the past calendar year, whether it's Brandon Ayuk, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, all these names. Steelers get wide receiver DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks. Metcalf then agrees to a 5-year, $150 million extension with the Steelers. Don't know what's going to happen, whether it's going to be Metcalf and Pickens, whether they're going to trade Pickens. Don't know who the quarterback's going to be. There's still a lot of questions in Pittsburgh with what this team's going to be next year. I think it's more of a scenario where you're building up you're building up your skill players, you're building up your defense. A lot of this draft is going to be focused around defensive line, linebackers, offensive line for whatever quarterback we end up signing, whether it's Russ, Rodgers. I thought it was going to be Daniel Jones at some point. Whoever they end up bringing in, obviously it's not going to be Justin Fields. We saw him sign with the Jets, but I don't know who it's going to be. I think they're kind of beefing up their skill players for a nice, very good situation for a young quarterback to come into next year. What'd you say?
Who do you want for this season, though? Who do you want to throw to Pickens and
Dude,
Metcalf?
I want Rodgers or Russ. I mean, gun to my head, I'm taking Russ.
I think it's going to be Rodgers.
I saw Vikings are interested. Rodgers.
That would be just cinema, because then he'd go back and flame the Packers with that Kevin O'Connell offense and the assets they have. But with Huff's Steelers team, I mean, I don't think they trade Pickens. He's not a part of the long-term plan now because you just paid that much money.
He's a free agent next season.
Yes, you want to get something for him. But
they traded a second-round pick for Metcalf. They basically they could trade Pickens for a second-round pick, and all you did was sign a free agent DK Metcalf.
If say Pickens didn't want to get out and he wasn't such like almost a diva wide receiver, would you rather have him or DK Metcalf long term?
I'd personally rather have DK, just because we've seen him do it. I've seen Pickens' ceiling, but I think his floor is a lot lower than DK's.
The 5-year plan that brings DK Metcalf to what age? Maybe like 32?
I think he's 27. Yeah, 32.
Yeah, we'll see. $30 million a year.
So here's the other idea I had. I said the draft's gonna be focused on the defensive line. They have the 21st, I think it's 21st overall pick. I keep seeing Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. They think they're gonna draft him. So you only draft him if you're gonna trade Pickens, or they'd probably do it before they end up making that pick. So say you trade Pickens and get a second round pick. You draft Egbuka in the first round. You have Metcalf, Egbuka, go second round, defensive line, whoever. They're saying now we're going to get a running back. We just lost Najee Harris, one of my favorite guys on the team, so that hurt for me. But I think it's more they're just building up their skill positions. I don't think this is a Steeler team that's going to, Super Bowl or bust next year after all these big signings. Like, they're not there yet.
Huff, I would give you guys Joe Milton the third for George Pickens any day of the week. That'd be a nice little deal right there.
That would not happen.
I don't know. What do you think you're getting for Pickens, though, coming up on contract?
It's going to be they're just going to trade him straight up for a second round pick.
If they can get it, we'll see. He is the problem receiver. Maybe if they hold on to him and wait till the trade deadline, they can get a little bit more out of him.
I think
the you
other
don't
thing.
get as much. People tend to trade the value either on draft day, and if they don't make the trade then you have to wait until the deadline.
Exactly. But sticking with the Seahawks, they have signed quarterback Sam Darnold to a 3-year, $110.5 million deal. Do you see Sam Darnold replicating the success he had in 2024 with the Vikings in Seattle this year?
No.
He has a balanced rushing attack that's really going to help him, though. That is one thing. Having Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in your backfield really does help your passing game because it sets up the play action, which he excelled on. He excels on that. And JSN is that go-to receiver. We saw how much he'd feed Jefferson. I think he's going to do the same with JSN. They just brought an MVS. I don't know if you guys saw that today. So that's another good secondary option on the outside. Not big on his tight ends. He didn't really use Hawk too much. So, I mean, I think he'll be adequate. And you know what's crazy to me is he's younger than Joe Burrow. He's younger than a lot of these other guys that we think he's older than.
Yeah, he feels like he's 32 years old at least.
He's what, 26, 27?
I think he's 27.
That's crazy. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to be bad. I don't think he puts up the same numbers, maybe about the same. The record was more so great than the numbers last year, right?
Numbers were there. I mean, dude, first 6 weeks of the season, he was in the MVP talks.
Would they finish, though, the numbers?
I mean, he played terrible the last 2 games of the season.
Yeah, but one of them was playoffs. Doesn't even count towards stats.
Yeah. And it was divisional against the best team in the NFC in the regular season, right?
5th in passing yards of 4,319.
What about touchdowns?
5th in touchdowns, 35.
What was his touchdown interception ratio?
35 and 12 interceptions.
Yeah. I don't think he beats that year. I think he could flirt with 30 touchdowns again.
I was just going to say, do you think he gets 30 touchdowns?
Yeah, probably between 25 and 30.
It's just a different offensive scheme as well. I mean, you also don't have Justin Jefferson.
It's going to be a run-first offense.
Yeah. He'll do all right. I'm not going to say
he can take the top off with MVS. He's got to just feed JSN.
I think that was his ceiling. That was his peak season right there. But
I could see the Seahawks draft
I can't believe he got paid that much money after those last 2 weeks, though. I really can't.
Yeah, he just kind of proved that he can't get the job
That's what they
done.
go for.
But the term, too, the term on that deal is heavy. Like, you're stuck with that contract for a while.
I think we're going to look back on that deal and be like, the Vikings did the right thing.
So what'd you say, it was 5 years?
3 years.
All right. I don't mind it. Especially the weak quarterback class this year.
Yeah. There's not much going around.
He's a good guy. You know what? You pay him that too, and then you do like the Michael Penix where you draft the guy while he's under contract. So like in year 2 or year 3.
That's what I was just gonna say. I could see them go after like take a shot on like Jackson Dart or one of those mid round or mid range quarterbacks. That
maybe not even this year though. Like if you have him for 3 years, you can do it next year.
Yeah.
So, but during his contract, they're gonna draft his replacement.
Exactly. Yeah, he won't sign a second deal with Seattle. But the Cleveland Browns and Myles Garrett agreed to terms on a 4-year contract extension with $40 million per year average, including $123 million guaranteed. The deal makes Garrett the new highest paid non-quarterback just days after Max Crosby and the Raiders agreed to their deal, which at the time made him the highest paid non-quarterback. Was this the best scenario for Myles Garrett?
No, but remember when he was like, I want to go win, and I'm leaving. Yeah.
And then they threw him $40 million. He's like, I guess I can stay in Cleveland.
And they told him that Deshaun Watson's not going to start, essentially, even though they didn't tell him that straight up. But no.
Who's going to start? Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, so they went and got Kenny Pickett.
Anybody not named Deshaun
And Russell Wilson's meeting with the Browns tonight.
Yeah, they could draft Cam Ward or Sanders.
Yeah, pay the man.
You want to
Yeah.
know what my ultimate worst nightmare is? Russell Wilson signs with fucking Cleveland.
And goes off.
I don't even care how good or bad he does. Having to semi-like Cleveland, I would kill myself.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can just not like
You
Russell
stop,
no more.
yeah,
You don't
I
have
mean,
to
Russell
semi like
Wilson
No,
is
he's
Cleveland.
my guy. I gotta ride with
You
him
don't
at
have
this
to
point.
Dude,
keep rooting for him anymore. The good thing is, if he went to Cleveland, you could just be like, yeah, he's washed now. He was good when he was on Seattle.
Just totally flip on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's been good in 6 years.
Mackie, as soon as Russell re-signs with the Steelers, if he does though, see where that coat's hanging on his closet? It's gonna be the number 3 jersey right back up. Remember last year in the what was it when they
It's
were
under
playing
the bed
Ravens?
right now. It's under the bed right now.
Remember when they were
Can't
playing
find
the
out.
Ravens?
It's in my closet. I put all my
They're playing the
Steelers
Ravens
stuff
in the
away.
playoffs on the live stream. Some guy's gassing you up. He's like, Russell Wilson's coming. And it's like, no, take the jersey down now. Just take it.
Yeah,
I think
I was gonna say the same thing. Once we threw him the
Call me crazy too with that. You were talking about the Max Crosby deal. I'd much rather play Max Crosby than Myles Garrett personally.
What do you mean?
Right. What?
I like Max
You'd rather
Crosby.
pay Max Crosby? Like you'd rather
Yeah.
have Max Crosby?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I
Do,
would.
do you have the reasoning behind that?
Is there a
I
big
just
age
think
difference that I'm missing?
No, I think they're about the same age. I just think Max Crosby's a better player.
What do you
I'm
mean
not
you
gonna
think he's
say
a
I
better
agree,
player?
but I see your point. Crosby is like they're different players.
Max
but-
Crosby's 27. Let's see how old Myles Garrett is. I think he's a
I
little
base
bit older.
28.
Myles Garrett's 29. So like my point holds. My point holds. I'd
Yeah,
pay
we
Max
didn't know
Crosby.
that. You can't.
I thought
you
they
can't
were
use
the
that for your point. You
No,
didn't know.
no. I thought they were the same age. But I would just pay Max Crosby over him. I think Max Crosby's got more in the tank, and it's shown by the age there. But I like Max Crosby more. I do.
I could see him lasting a little longer, but I mean, he's definitely not better.
We'll see. This year.
Okay, I mean, I guess you
I think Myles Garrett's best years are behind him. I'll put it that way.
And you think Max Crosby's aren't?
No, I think he can.
You
Push
think
for
he
a
hit his
deep boy.
ceiling yet?
I think he can get a deep boy.
You think he's plateauing?
I think he's got 1 or 2 more years to showcase that he can be the defensive player of the year. He's been on such a bad team too. He's had no help, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does change everything, but
I know they have Christian Wilkins that they bagged last year, but we'll see. Maybe Geno Smith a little bit. But yeah, get to our next point here. Just a random take that I thought I'd throw. I knew I'd throw one of you for
you're
a
good.
ball.
The Houston Texans have acquired wide receiver Christian Kirk from the Jacksonville Jaguars in exchange for a 2026 7th-round pick.
Under the radar.
The Jaguars then moved on from a few more players, including tight end Evan Ingram, who signed with the Denver Broncos, Devin Duvernay, Josh Reynolds, and Ronald Darby. Are you seeing the head coach Liam Cohn's vision for this Jags team going forward?
They like Parker Washington behind BTJ, right?
so what's going on with the is Diggs under contract?
No.
So he's out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Diggs is out.
So you still have Dell and Nico Collins.
Dell's coming off the ACL injury from late in the year, though, right?
Well, yeah,
So
yeah.
Dell's like not going to play this year, basically.
Okay. So you have Christian Kirk coming in as 2.
And they brought in someone else too after Christian Kirk. I can't remember who, but they brought in another receiver.
Fuck, I'm drawing a blank on who it was.
Marcus
too.
Robinson went to the Niners. I think it was someone from out west. Let me see.
I'll figure it out.
I don't know. Evan Ingram in Denver though, that's decent.
Yeah,
Good
that's a good
Tom
move
Meach.
for them.
There it
Get
is.
Bo Nix a security blanket across the middle. They can actually get him some yards after catch. I think they had Troutman and
Oh, they
forget
brought
the
in
other guys.
They brought in Justin Watson from Kansas City.
That's it from Kansas City.
Not a bad depth piece because their depth last year was non-existent. They were throwing the Bobby Trees still.
Yeah. But the Washington Commanders have released defensive tackle Jonathan Allen after 8 seasons with the team. And then I have here is expected to be one of the most sought after defensive tackles. But today or yesterday, he signed with the Minnesota Vikings. They also got Javon Hargrave from the 49ers. So the Vikings are beefing up their defense. I forget who else they got, but
It makes sense when you got to see David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs twice a year.
yeah, beef up the middle of the defensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a good idea. Let's see.
They lost Cam Bynum too. I saw that one. That was an interesting. No more dances in Minnesota that are getting choreographed in practice.
Yeah, damn, that'll be missed. I did like seeing those whenever they would post those on Instagram. But Los Angeles Chargers are moving on from defensive end Joey Bosa after 9 seasons with the team. Bosa was a defensive rookie of the year in 2016. a 5-time Pro Bowler in his tenure with San Diego and Los Angeles, and he was the last player on the team that had played for them in San Diego. And yesterday he agreed to terms on a 1-year, I think it was $10 million deal with the Buffalo Bills.
I like the $1 million deal. So they have him and Von Miller now, two old guys that love to get injured that were once great.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be a San Francisco 49er and take a pay cut to play with his brother personally.
Yeah,
That's,
I could have seen that.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age.
I mean, great ad by the Bills, though. A team that was right there. They lost the Chiefs just barely. They had another impact player. If he can stay healthy, that's a big piece to have come playoff time for the Bills.
Absolutely. And then the Cincinnati Bengals will have different faces to their defense in 2025 as Sam Hubbard announced that he is retiring from the league. And then Bengals informed Trey Hendrickson that he has permission to seek a trade.
Crazy, bro.
Best fit for the NFL's defending sack title holder.
Anywhere. Anybody could take him. He's one of the best pass rushers in the league. He did it with no help. They paid B.J. Hill on their D-line, but they won't pay Trey Hendrickson.
Not a lot.
Yeah, but still, like, what? You have nobody on your defense. You literally have nobody. You train the one guy. You got to tie up all your money in Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to put up 50 points a game, but give up 75? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they obviously saw that recipe didn't work last year, and they're just kind of rolling with it again. I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase coming off career years, and, they sit
Nothing
sitting
to
on the
show for
outside
it.
looking in.
And all they do is have a bad draft pick from it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think back to where I think he should go. They keep saying Chicago. I think that would be a
They
good
have
fit
more
for them.
money? How much? They're like us. They just have an endless amount of money, huh?
You do. I don't know where they get it all. It's just, I mean, the salary cap doesn't really exist. You just give them a signing bonus, and like,
That's
especially
what it
these guys
is.
that are
Yeah, you
veterans.
disguise it.
But let's see here. So players that that we kind of went through most of those. We'll kind of jump down here.
What about the Pats here, though? I'll give my take here on the Pats real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about the Pats, the 4-win Pats.
Bag dropping, though. So when we brought in Mike Vrabel, you knew that he was going to make a strong defense. He did it down there in Tennessee, and now he shores it up. One of those units that was one of the worst in the league last year. I think they were last in points against. They're going to be healthy now, so they get Christian Barmore back, Jawan Bentley, and Kyle Duggar. That's going to help at every level. Jabril Pepper is freed from the charges, too. Christian Gonzalez coming off that year. Now you add Carlton Davis on the outside with Christian Gonzalez. That's a pretty good clamps on the outside. I don't know what you guys think about Carlton Davis, but
isn't Carlton Davis getting up there in age?
I think he's like late 20s.
Okay, so he's not as old as I thought.
No, he's right there in his prime, I would say. And then they shored up the D-line. So now your D-line, they already had Keon White, who was emerging as a star pass rusher. They have Christian Barmore, who's healthy, who was a top pick out of Alabama. And now you bring in Milton Williams, right? The number one free agent on the market coming into the offseason. And he just won a Super Bowl. He's only 25 years old, too, or 24 years old. I didn't know that. So I love to see that. If we're going to throw a bag at someone, might as well be someone that young. So he's going to stick around for his prime. And he's one of the best pass rush creators in the league. You get Harold Landry on the D-line. So now you got Barmore, Landry, Keon White, and Williams. That's a great pass rush there. They couldn't stop the run last year. Bringing back our captain, Jawan Bentley, in the middle already helps. But then you got a very friendly deal for Robert Spillane, way under middle linebacker starting pedigree price in the NFL. And he's one of the best run stoppers in the league. You get him and Bentley in the middle. That's going to help out a lot. And then, like I said, Carlton Davis on the outside. They signed a couple other depth pieces, too. They brought in No Shoes, Mac Hollins on the outside. Wouldn't be surprised to see my Patriots aggressively pursue Cooper Kupp now that he's been released by the Rams as well. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Patriots, if Rodney Stanley didn't re-sign with the Ravens, and if Chris Godwin didn't re-sign with the Bucs, the Patriots offered them crazy amounts of money to come join us. But sadly, they went back to their respective teams. And then we did bring in Morgan Moses, so we're starting to address that O-line a little bit. But the good thing is we still have about 40 to 60 million to play with in cap space, so we can still sign some big names. But then those defensive signings allow us to sign skilled playmakers in the draft. And we have 5 picks in the top 100 this year, so I'm pretty excited for that as well. So good spending there. With Mike Vrabel, you know the defense would step up, and they're addressing the O-line already too. So Patriots' second easiest schedule coming in the year. I think they might raise some eyebrows as they're changing that culture back to a Mike Vrabel-led team.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think they're done yet either. They still have a fucking Brinks truck full of money to pay people.
I'm telling you, I think Cooper Kupp might be a Patriot.
I mean, I could see that, but yeah, we'll kind of cover anything else that happens in the coming weeks or throughout the NFL offseason, obviously. But just a full list here of some of these contracts that we did not go over. Bills quarterback Josh Allen, 6 years,
Yeah,
$330
that's fire.
million. A restructure there.
Be the
We went
man.
through Metcalf and
No.
Garrett. Devontae Adams to the Rams on a 2-year, $46 million
He
deal.
got his number from Puka.
I was gonna say, well, that too. I was gonna say the Rams didn't want to pay a 30-year-old receiver, $20 million, but they paid Devontae Adams that and let Cooper Kupp walk. But
that's weird, huh? That's weird.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I don't know. I personally think they're like I
Cooper
think
Kupp
Cooper Kupp's really
injury-prone?
good. I think they're a better team with Devontae.
Yeah, because he's injury prone.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp is injury
And
prone.
you had
Devontae
two,
Adams
like you
isn't.
had, like I think they're
The two of
better
the same
without
guys
the
in
two.
Puka.
Yeah, the two of
Yeah.
the same fucking receiver on both sides.
Yeah. I just think, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of a slap in the face to a guy that was your Super Bowl MVP, but it's business is business, and
Business is
they
business.
replaced him in the right spot. You know?
It basically just shows if you're not a quarterback, it doesn't matter. You can get moved or just released. But Nick Bolton re-signs with the Chiefs, 3 years, $45 million. We said Harold Landry to the Patriots.
I got one that you're going to get to, but one team that I think is flying under the radar and they've crushed free agency so far is the Denver Broncos. I mean, look at what they already did last year with Bo Nix. And you said they brought in Evan Ingram already. That's a nice weapon. He didn't even really need more weapons on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe they need a running back, a true running back. But on the defensive
They lost
side of the ball,
Javonte to Mackey's Dallas Cowboys. That was their big splash.
Yeah,
and you know
$3
what?
million.
You know what's funny? You want to hear something funny? This is actually a funny.
I
right
actually
when you
like
said
that signing, Mackey.
I didn't know he was going to go to Dallas. But when I was going to say, I was going to be like, Javonte Williams isn't even that good. They can do without him. But him going to Dallas, what they had last year, he's very good, and he has a high ceiling. I love the signing by Dallas, but I also love Denver cutting him because it's a win-win for both teams. But on the defensive side of the ball, they brought in Dre Greenlaw, who's one of the best outside linebackers in the league, in my opinion. And then they brought in Talanoa Hufanga, who's one of the best safeties in the league. And that was an already stellar unit that didn't have big names on it before. But this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Mackey was telling us before, I would take out a mortgage and put it on the Chiefs to win the division. I probably still would because you know how much I ride those Mahomes Chiefs wagon. But I don't know. This Broncos team's scary.
Chargers are kind of beefing up too, so I mean the division's definitely not weak anymore.
I think they got worse with their running back signing personally, but
Yeah, I wasn't going to touch on the Broncos, so I'm glad you pointed that out. Vikings re-sign Aaron Jones, 2 years, $20 million, and then Seahawks Jerron Reed, 3 years, $25 million.
a lot of money for Jones, who's always hurt, even though he's good. He's good.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have paid him that, but yeah, and then a couple of the other ones I mentioned, Najee Harris to the Chargers. I'm just thinking of a few more that are on
What's
the top of my
Najee's
head.
price? Do you know?
I think it was a 9.5.
Yeah, 1 year, 9.5.
That's crazy that Jones and Najee got that money. So Saquon, Jacobs, and Henry really reset the running back market, huh? Because years ago, they wouldn't have been getting paid that much annually.
Najee would have got like a 1 year, $6 million deal.
2 years ago, they weren't getting that. No way.
So those big three that I just named last year reset the market. But Mackie, that's a Javonte Williams signing is very under the radar. I like that a lot for you.
It's nice. It's not bad. I mean, it's just
high
Dallas
upside.
wants to spend the real money.
Well, it's because isn't Dowdle a free agent? They don't know if Dowdle's staying.
I saw that Dowdle might go to New England.
Dowdle can't get the job done anyway.
He's a good 2.
Yeah, but he can't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams has the ceiling of a 1. You just got to stay healthy.
He's been a 1.
Yeah, you just got to stay healthy.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Good NFL offseason recap so far. We'll have a bunch more moves.
What about D-Hop to the Ravens? That's such a Ravens signing if I've ever seen one.
I saw a tweet and it said, "You know, a receiver's career is over if he goes to Tennessee or Baltimore."
Yeah, yep. Who was it? Like the guys before him: Odell Beckham Jr., Steve Smith, Dez Bryant, Michael Crabtree. I mean, Steve Smith did well. I think he won a Super Bowl with him there. But
Julio never ended up.
Julio
in
was in Tennessee.
Yeah, Julio, Randy Moss. Like, there's so many other guys. Like
Andre Johnson was Tennessee.
Yeah,
not Jerry Rice. Who else was Tennessee?
And you know, Big Hoss, long time. He'll be back on during the football season a little bit. He was all hyped, texting me about it. I'm like, this is such a bad signing. Like, he's not going to do anything. I said, wasn't going to catch 2 touchdowns.
2017.
I was like, no, it's really cool. Like, it's going to be cool to see him there. And Hoss like, oh, Lamar's going to be happy. Like, yeah, he is. But that's $6 million you could have invested elsewhere on a team that's Super Bowl ready. Like, that's a Super Bowl roster.
They're letting pieces go from their defense.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, we didn't even pay him that much. I'm like, for a number 3 wide receiver option, because Bateman and Zay Flowers are good enough. You already have Likely. They're probably bringing back Andrews. You have Justice Hill and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. I would have taken a young guy or a cheaper guy on the outside. I said, he's like, "Oh, Demarcus Robinson got paid the same as D-Hop." I'm like, "Yeah, Demarcus Robinson's been great."
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd take Demarcus Robinson over D-Hop right now.
But in reality, I wouldn't have spent $6 million on my wide receiver 3 in Baltimore when we could have placed that money on the defensive side
when they
of the
don't
ball.
even throw the fucking ball.
And when they do, they already have Bateman and Flowers who are very good.
Yeah. And like you said, 2 tight ends that are more than capable of catching the ball.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
One of them might not be it.
It's
only when it matters.
Big moments. One of them can. One of them we don't know.
It's more about the storyline, I guess, but like in getting Lamar's guy. But I think that's a waste of money, personally.
Is that Lamar's guy? Like, is there a connection that I'm missing that I didn't know? Like,
there's a picture.
I saw the Instagram post like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
How many touchdowns did this
That's
trio
what Haas
go
kept
for?
saying. He's like, "You know how hyped Lamar's gonna be?" I'm like, "He would have been fine either way." He's like, "Yeah, but that's his boy." I said, "You know who is his boy? Is Bateman and Flowers when he's rolling around looking for someone. That's who his boy is."
I saw someone quote tweet that picture, and they were like, 70 touchdowns, 20 from Henry, 50 from Jackson, 0 from D-Hop.
Honestly, probably right. I think I told my brother, I was like, "What do you think he maxed out at 2 touchdowns this season?" He's like, "You can catch 4 to 6 balls a game, so you'll be lucky to catch 2 or 3."
Yeah, his reception prop every week is gonna be 1.5 catches.
Yep, 1.5, 2.5. That's like, yeah.
It's gonna be like 1.5. It's gonna be what he was in the
1.5,
Super Bowl.
1.5 minus
11
160, 2.5 plus 130.
Yeah. Or his yards will be 11.5, and his touchdown every week will be like plus 650.
Yeah, and that could hit though, because he'll catch a couple with the Ravens.
Yeah, he'll hit that once or twice. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Good NFL offseason recap so far. Like I said, we'll cover. I think my Steelers obviously aren't done. We do not have a quarterback other than Skylar Thompson. Your Patriots still have a lot of money to spend. There's still a lot of big names out there. So we'll cover
the top 100 too. Oh yeah.
In the next few weeks. But college basketball, we have. We're going to get a live stream out there this weekend for conference tournaments as we get down to the semifinals and finals. So stay tuned for that. And then Mackie pointed out, like I said, we have a giveaway going out on Sunday. So make sure you stay tuned for that for our social media, for our March Madness giveaway. We'll have all the rules to enter and all that good stuff posted on there. But I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for listening. You guys got anything else you want to add in before we wrap things up?
Excited for next week to get into some MLB with that Japan series going underway. Excited to blindly tail you guys. Already been doing it in the conference tournaments, but March Madness, do it a little bit more. NHL heating up. My Bruins are not dead. Mackie, imagine a world a month from now where we have the Bruins and Rangers in playoff spots. Keep your fingers in, toes crossed, because I don't know if that can happen.
We're dreaming.
Did you ever find the answer when's the last time the Penguins, Bruins, and Rangers all didn't make the playoffs?
It's never happened, Jesse said.
It never happened?
I went back to 1990 and it didn't happen. So.
What year? Who's the newest franchise? It's you guys, right, Huff? What year were you around?
Yeah, we're original 6.
Original 6.
Yeah, you guys are both original 6, so I don't know when the Penguins.
But the Penguins are pretty old too, right?
Like 50s.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's before 1990, which is nuts. That's 35 years.
So before we were even born, so we don't need to worry about it. For some
before
of our
listeners, parents were born, probably.
Yeah.
You know what? Hopefully it doesn't happen.
Yeah. So someone, one of you two got to get us in.
Casey,
one of you two got to keep the streak alive.
Hey, if we do, it's going to be on the back of David Pastrnak. Got to give him one more shout out before we log off, because he's been on a tear with no help. He only plays online with Morgan Geekie and Pavel Zacha. All the other top scorers in the league play with someone else that's great. Our power play is like Lowry, Zacha, Geekie, Middlestat, and Pastrnak. And he's like 3rd or 4th in the league in points. So got to give him his credit. That guy's the man. Future captain of the Bruins.
Absolutely. And yeah, stay tuned to our social media. We'll get some free plays out there for NHL, NBA, college basketball, all these leagues that are going. Like Ace said, we have MLB, that Japan series. I think that's before our podcast next week. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I think that game is next Wednesday.
I think it's the 16th. I don't know why that's in my head.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that. So keep an eye out for our MLB card starting possibly early if we find a play there. I think it's Cubs Dodgers. Am I correct there?
Yeah, Ohtani to hit a home run probably.
Yeah. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys this weekend. We'll get you a live stream out there, Saturday or Sunday. Stay tuned. We'll let you know when that's going to be, and we'll get some picks out there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.